Hi everyone, what's up and welcome to a new episode of your Frederish podcast. Here we are again. So what is it that we're going to talk about today? Yes, there's no mystery here. You read the title and yes, it's part 2 of episode about Game of Thrones, aka A Song of Ice and Fire, or vice versa. I would say vice versa. A Song of Ice and Fire, aka Game of Thrones. Alright guys, just so I don't lose practice, my name is Gary and I'm your host for today, and welcome. Sit down, relax, just more than ever. Sit down, relax, go get yourself something to drink, something to eat, and chill out, okay? Because today, as I've already said, we're gonna talk about art. More specifically, literature, fantastic literature, being even more specific. Okay, guys, well, if you heard episode 1, okay, you're already on the same page with me right now. So we're gonna pick up from where we left off. That's an interesting and important expression in English. Pick up from where we left off. That is, continue from where we stopped, okay? If you haven't heard episode 1, I suggest you pause this video right now, this podcast right now, and go there, okay? It's a few clicks away. You're gonna find it easily on our page here. All right, wherever this media is, I would say that it should be all together at the same part. All right. Anyways, go listen to the first episode so you can, as I said, be on the same page with all of us. All right, me and the ones that've already heard episode 1. All right, so on episode 1, I made a big picture of the show, all right? And the books, of course, and all together, all this universe that comprises Game of Thrones. Okay, so from here, I would like to be a little bit more specific, a little bit more fan-like, so to say. That is, well, starting off with the difference between the show, the HBO shows in the plural right now. I'm gonna talk more about it further on, and the books, of course, right? Well, the main differences are, of course, the things that happen, all right? That meaning things that don't happen in one and happen in the other, and vice versa, of course, right? But just so you can have the picture in case there's one of them you haven't read / watched. That is, if you haven't read the books, or if you haven't read if you haven't watched the show yet, all right, or vice versa. Okay, it's a number out of my head. I want to say 60 or 70% of the main events, okay, you see either in the show or in the books are synchronized. Okay, I'm gonna put it this way, meaning that the same things happen. Okay, the structure of the story, of the plot is basically the same. All right, but there are significant differences. Okay, guys, I cannot promise a no spoiler policy on this episode. Okay, but I'll do my best. All right, so just be careful here, okay? If I start saying too much, you just skip a few seconds and you're gonna be safe, all right? Anyways, for example, some characters that die in the books and do not die in the show, all right? Or even some characters that exist in the book and doesn't exist and do not exist in the show, all right? Again, or the other way around, or vice versa, right? This is interesting because, if you have read the books, it's a much better experience, watching the show after that, I believe, okay? And again, that's the motto of this episode, and vice versa. Okay, if you have watched the show and then you started reading the books, it's a cool experience too. But I would say that reading the books, all of them, the 6 of them so far, and then going to the shows, okay, it is a much more pleasant experience, than just watching the show and going to the books later. But I totally recommend both of them, of course. If you watch the show and you want to read the books, as I said on episode 1, totally go for it. Okay, you're not gonna regret. You have my word on it. Okay. Anyways, so it's important for you to understand, in case you don't know some of it or none of it, that there are significant differences. Okay. Of course, it's important to say, just for the record, that the books are still being written. Okay, George, the author, George R. R. Martin, is currently working on book 6. Okay, God helps us; it's going to be released sooner than later. But then there's book 7 yet to be started, unless George's been working on both of them, together, which is a secret desire I nourish in my heart. Okay, I must confess, but probably not the case, right? So all things say, chances are that book 7 is still to get started from scratch, from zero, from the first words. All right. So books are still ongoing, and there is a point, in case you don't know that the books, I forgot the verb that they use, outpast, I guess, right? Outpast the show. The show outpast the books, right? And from this point onwards, the events change drastically. Then it's, as far as you know, a complete different story. Although I do not believe that everything that is in the show, we won't see them in the upcoming books, right? I totally believe that some is there, right? Which is totally cool, right? A good parallel we can make is with The Walking Dead, for example. If you've seen the show and read at least a little bit of the comics, right? Just in case you don't know, again, the show is based on, okay, the comics. You see that it's more or less the same thing, right? We have main events going on and some differences, the same, like characters that do not exist here and exist there, etc., etc. But it's nice. I like that, because if you're like watching the show and then something expected happens, it's cool. Like, oh, I saw that before. It's nice. I saw that before. That's cool. That's not a problem. If everything happens the same, like exactly, a mirror from the book or the comics, if you will, if we're talking about The Walking Dead, and then happens in the show, okay, but it gets predictive, right? So there must be changes. But it's interesting also to know that not everything is different. Okay, that's why I believe that in the books we're gonna meet, some events that happen, if not exactly, but very similar to the show itself, I would say. Okay. All right. So that's. I hope I have painted the picture of the books versus HBO shows, basically. But here, not show, right? Game of Thrones. I'm not gonna talk right now about the spin-offs, but I will further on, as I said. All right. So I like that. Okay, I totally recommend. I've tried to express that having similarities and differences is something cool. All right, if they're, again, just trying to make a summary here, if everything about this point, right, specifically point, if everything is the same, it's predictable, and if everything is different, then it's paradoxically predictable too, but also not cool, because then it's not the same universe, or even not the same story. So there must be some similarity, in my opinion, some similarities, and it's okay. If you guys want some numbers, I would say that I totally hope that book 6, for example, of The Song of Ice and Fire, which is called a winter. Oh my God, I just forgot it. Something with a winter, a spring of. Sorry, oh my God, totally blank right now. Just give me a second. I'm gonna check it out. Okay, The Winds of Winter. How could I have ever forgotten that? So promise me you will keep the secret. You won't tell anyone. I've just Googled. I've just had to Google the name of book 6 of Song of Ice and Fire. Anyways, it's interesting. Just it gave me the opportunity to notice that it's the only. If you remember, if you've heard episode 1, I mentioned that all of the books start with the names of the books. Of course, the names of the books started with the indefinite article a. You know, a Game of Thrones, a Clash of Kings, a Storm of Swords, book 3, a Feast for Crows, book 4, and a Dance of Dragons, book 5, right? The book 6, surprisingly enough, is the Winds of Winter, okay? And book 7 is Spring for Wolf. Spring for Wolf. So all of them start with a, and then book 6 starts with the, okay? It may be nothing, maybe just a coincidence, but if you read the books, you will see in the notes, in the prologues, not the prologues, but in the notes that the author brings at the beginning, sometimes at the end of the books, he says that the devil, the devil is in details, as it's a known expression, right? Meaning that details are important to him. If you read the book, especially if you read the books for a second time, you will realize how many devils, quote unquote, that is details, that may reveal, or some of them totally reveal, upcoming events in the story. But anyways, I just brought that up to say that, well, I really think that book 6 is going to be the apex, right? Let's just remember, it's book 5 came out in 2011. Okay, that is almost 13 years ago, right? Sorry, not almost, but 12 years ago. Let's put it this way. Wow, that's a lot, you know? If you see the differences from book 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, it is like an average 4 years, a 4-year average, all right? So I really believe, okay, there is, as I also said on episode 1, the pressure that George's been, living with because of everything, that started happening with the name Game of Thrones ever since HBO decided to do that, Certainly there's pressure in there, but another reason why the book is taking so long to be released, to be finished, is because it's going to be a hell of a good book, right? But anyways, let's just skip to next topic I wrote here to talk about. That is, one of the cool things about this universe, and again, I'll do my best not to, to not bring any spoilers here. But again, if I do that, please forgive me, all right? For example, if you guys read Lord of the Rings, you will see that Tolkien worked his butt off, basically, to create a whole universe, a whole different cultures, different races, okay, different languages, right? Which is all very cool for us, language lovers. But yeah, there's a whole work, a whole world, a whole universe behind that, right? I don't want to be unfair here because I haven't read all of the Tolkien's books, right? Just the most known ones. But not all the book. I'm not even talking about all of his books, but all of the books that comprise the universe of the Lord of the Rings, right? But I want to say that the work, as on this specifics of creating universe, creating maps, creating different cultures, right? That George has put in his books is way bigger, way more complex. Okay, forgive me to put it this way, but way more adult. Okay, way more grown-ups. Tolkien was like, it's not fair to compare authors from different ages, basically, right? Let's just remember that Tolkien died in the 70s when George was like a teenager or a young adult. Anyways, and he wrote the Lord of the Rings in the 50s, so a totally different world compared to these days, right? Anyways, but it is much more adult. Okay, it's definitely something that it's not interesting in multiple different senses for kids to put their hands on, basically, right? I would say like at least like 14, 15 years old, preferably 18, 19, right? But 15, it's should be fine if there's some grown-up guidance behind it. All right. Anyways, and it's very, very complex. Okay. If you're a good student of English, which I totally hope and believe you are, you will remember that there's a difference between the words story and history, right? Because in Portuguese we use the word história for both, right? For history and for story. Okay. History is like events that happen, right? Wars and declarations, etc., etc. This is history with H, right? And story is, right, like the Game of Thrones is a story, okay? But there's history in the story, and this is so cool, okay? And so rich with details that even understanding the past events, okay? That from the let me put it this way, from the main timeline, okay? From the events that we start following as the books begin, all right? And the show goes the same way, by the way. The Game of Thrones show goes exactly the same timeline, okay? At least in the start, all right? And there's so much behind, all fully detailed, all right? And it's not surprise to anyone that lots of spin-offs are coming from these, pieces of information. Let me put it this way, all right? Things that happened in the past specifically, all right? And this is something so cool because once you start reading the books, you realize that history through the characters, right? Oh, just one interesting fact: the books are written in point of view, okay? POV. That is the character, talking about what he's seeing, feeling, etc. If a character doesn't see something, he doesn't mention it, all right? It's not like the author telling the story. It's the character, okay, expressing his or her thoughts, throughout the words, okay? Anyways, just say that. So the characters, the history behind it that we meet through the characters is just, awesome. There's no better word to say that. Okay, and this is a cool factor. I could speak much more about it, but we have a limited time here, and I don't want to spoil anything. Okay, I really want you to watch the show, and preferably, but not separately, right? You can do both, but preferably read the books. Okay, and just since I brought that up, why exactly I would like you to read the books, apart from the fact that it's just awesome, as I said. Well, I suspect if your English is okay enough to understand what I'm saying here, and in the past episode, you're okay to start reading the books in English, all right? All right, if you want to read it in Portuguese to enjoy the story, okay, go for it, no problem, okay? But try to make a way to get your hands on some original material, like that is the books in English, all right? You can read simultaneously, right? That's okay. It will take longer than the usual time, but as I said, the author doesn't hurry, doesn't rush to write the book. So probably when book 7 comes out, you will have already read in 2 or even more different languages the books, right? But again, let's remember that a book is always better in its original language, all right? No matter what language here, but it's always better in its original language, okay? So this is the main reason. If you're an English student, or if you can speak English, if you understand what I'm saying right now, if you understand at least 70% of what I'm saying on this podcast here, you should, in my opinion, totally go for it. Totally, try to read the books, get some PDFs. I don't know, but get the books in English and read them. Okay, I've been doing it. Okay, reading in both languages. I'm rereading the books in Portuguese, which I have, which is great. Okay, the translation is it's cool. Okay, but it's a privilege, I would say, as a fan of the show, as a fan of the books, having access to the material in English in its original language. And I'm gonna say it saves our ass, basically, for us, for me specifically, who love understanding the details and diving in this universe. It's really, really pleasant, satisfying going through to the original for more references, right? This is I can make an episode entirely about this point, but I would like to go on here because, again, I don't want to be here forever, and neither you guys want me to be here forever, right? No matter how interesting the topic is, right? And there may be some episodes 3 or 4 for that, all right? Enough space and time for these details, all right? Okay, another interesting fact that I wrote here to talk about. The theories, okay? I mentioned the history, all right? But also the story and the story's history, all right, is so intricate that it makes room for readers to start connecting the dots, connecting things, events, people, all right? As I said on episode 1, some of the theories are already confirmed, okay? Some of them were confirmed on the HBO show, but still not in the books, but probably will, all right? Probably will. If this wasn't a spoilers free, I would just say a name and you guys would know. I mean, I can say a name without spoiling, right? Okay, so I'm gonna say Jon Snow, okay? That's it, okay? You guys, if you've read the books and if you have watched the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. All right, so it's very cool, right? It's having the possibility to create theories or even some conspiracy theories, right? Even if they don't reveal themselves as truthful in the future, right? Even if in the future we don't get them right, but we will totally get a lot of them right? But some of them, of course, won't be revealed. Plus, because George's been reading probably the theories, and if he's pissed off, he may just change a few facts and just rearrange the order of some events, and do not deliver the theories, the things that people are expecting or believe, having presumed, basically. Who knows, right? Okay, spin-offs quickly. There's the House of the Dragon going on HBO, which as I said before, I still haven't seen it. I will. No hurry, okay? I'm not a hurry spectator. No problem if I watch it 10 years from now. I really hope I don't, but if I do, cool, all right? It means I've been working with something more of a priority than this, but it's certainly on my to-do list, okay? So there's House of the Dragon. There will be some spin-offs talking more about other events, okay? I really believe that in the next years we're gonna have at least 3 or 4 more spin-offs, all right? There is room for it, totally. There's room for it, okay? So let's wait and see, all right? And about the characters, guys, well, George is a monster, as the youngsters say these days. He's really, really smart and intelligent and clever, creating characters, because he, as they say, he gives life to the characters in the way that only very good authors can, right? He's not alone on this, of course. There's many others. Stephen King, for example, right? It's wonderful doing that, but he's just great. You can feel the characters. You can understand the characters, right? And most importantly, which I would put as the main point about the characters here, is that none of them are 100% good or 100% evil. There's a yin yang thing basically in all of them, which is awesome. This thing of villains 100% evil, villains that don't have a reason to have become villains. They were just apparently born this way. And on the other side, heroes that are like angels in people's bodies basically. It's a past style, and to be honest with you, it's kind of a lame, kind of corny, because I don't know about you guys, but I like identifying myself in the story, okay, in the characters. I like understanding a character is not 100% evil, okay, and neither 100% good, right? Because probably no one in this universe is 100% good or 100% evil, right? I mean, at least people in flesh and bones like ourselves, right? Anyways, this is something that I really love about the characters, right? And just to finish it off, the world and the universe, as I said that before, I will just make a few adds to it. The maps, okay, it's a world. There are continents, okay, there are cultures, right? Different from Tolkien. There aren't different races. I mean, there are, but not rational races. Like they have the elves and the trees. I forgot the name of them. Forgive me, guys. But the trees. They're all conscious creatures, right? They're all thinking creatures, right? Thinking creatures, as far as I understand, on Game of Thrones is only humans, right? In different ways, different, as we say in the world, like races, but in the term of like color of skin, culture and stuff. Okay, so this is, I would say, these are the main reasons why you totally should start reading the books or even watching the show, or vice versa. All right, it's cool, it's nice. Be careful with spoilers wherever you go. There's so many of them out there, and they're not cool. I don't like. That's why I hope I haven't spoiled anything here and on this episode and in the one before. But at the same time, I really hope I have instigated you to at least give it a try in the story. All right. So that will be all for this episode. As usual, I see you in the next one, and that's all for now. Bye bye, guys. See you.